Hello. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for your patience. Had a little difficulty starting the Hangout today. Thank you so much for waiting. Please do join me. Today will be our final day of a week-long series at this time where we have been discussing IELTS speaking test. In particular, today we will look at part 3 of the IELTS speaking test. What most test takers would consider the most difficult part of the test, the opinion section. Okay, the interviewer will ask you opinions about the topic which you have already discussed in part 2 of the test, the individual long term. So if in part 2 of the test you are asked to describe, for example, a vacation that you took, then part 3 of the test will ask you opinion questions about tourism. For example, if you're asked in part 2 about a memorable meal that you had, part 2 will deal with food, food shortages, maybe the importance of traditional cultural foods, and we'll ask you opinion questions related to food. Okay, they tend to ask certain types of questions in part 3. They usually lead off with a very general, sometimes it almost seems like a silly question, posed in a very, very simple way, and sometimes it throws students off. They wonder what's going on. Hang on, I'll continue. I just want to greet Enrique. Hello, Enrique. How are you?
Hello. Fine. And you?
Good. Do you have plans on taking an IELTS test?
Yes, I will do 27, July 27.
Uh-huh. Okay.
2 weeks to study.
Uh-huh. Okay. All right, coming right up. All right. Well, I'll try to give you some good advice and tips today. Okay, and we're going to do some serious practice, and I'll give you feedback. I just want to take a couple minutes to explain something here. They ask certain types of questions, often a very general question, and it may sound quite stupid. For example, they may ask you, why should people eat healthy foods? Well, duh. Why do people like to travel? Duh. Very simple, very general questions. They do that for a purpose. They want to see if you can speak in detail and give examples about in response to a very general question. And what you shouldn't do is answer very generally. You should try to be specific and give specific examples. It's sort of a kind of a trick question, all right?
Right.
They always ask a general question. They will always ask you a 2-part question, pros and cons, or disadvantages and advantages. Okay, for like tourism, what are the advantages to having many tourists in an area, and what are the disadvantages? Or what are the good and bad effects on the ecology of an environment when there is a lot of tourism? So you have to talk about good things that it may do for the environment, and you have to talk about bad things. You have to talk about both sides of the issue. They always ask you a question like that, okay?
Okay.
A comparison question. They also are going to ask you, no doubt, a conjecture question. What will tourism be like in the future in your country? For example, because they want to hear you use, of course, future tense, and they want to hear you use modals, of possibility. It might be that, it's possible, I think it's likely. They want to hear you use this kind of language. Okay?
Okay. Feels
So,
likely, probably.
right. So don't just simply use simple future. It will be like this will happen, blah, blah, blah. Don't do that. Try to consciously use modals. It could be, or it might happen, or it's possible. And then, if you can give contrasting points. On the other hand, it's also possible that blah, blah, blah. So using also discourse markers, signal phrases like however, on the other hand. Obviously, you can do that in the comparison question as well. Okay, so these three types of questions, and then, of course, more specific, direct opinion questions, you're most likely going to hear. Okay, another thing to be careful of in part 3. Often they will add a prepositional phrase. Make sure you catch it, because the worst thing you can do is go off topic. They may ask in general, meaning the whole world. Why do people like to travel? Okay, that means everybody in the world. They listen for prepositions. They may say in your country. They may say in your city. They may say in your culture. Okay?
Okay.
Actually, you should listen for that all through the speaking test, because they do that all the way through the test. All right?
Okay, all right.
So if they're asking about your city, don't start talking about people in another country, because that will affect your score. You're not staying on topic, the question they asked. Excuse me.
One question I have tried yesterday, and I saw one word, various. I don't know how I will write this.
Is it various?
Right.
Whereas. Ah.
Whereas.
Okay.
No.
All right. This is a discourse marker. Okay. And we use this in comparison. Very, very good.
Is it like nevertheless? Never.
Well, okay. Let me try using it and see if we can figure it out together. Whereas dogs are very friendly and very happy to see their owners, cats, on the other hand, are very aloof and unresponsive. Okay, so
Okay.
I use it to introduce the first point of a contrast, and then I'm introducing a contrasting point, an opposite comparison. Whereas one thing is like this, the other is like that.
Okay. Whereas.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to although. Although dogs like to be friendly, cats are very aloof.
Okay.
Okay. Good question, and it's very good, Enrique, to use. Absolutely, they are looking for in the IELTS test, they're looking for you to use organizational words, discourse markers, signal words, whatever you want to call them, like whereas, like first of all, secondly, my first reason is, and then giving examples, for instance, for example. Okay, they definitely want you to use those kinds of discourse markers, they're called. It's very specifically in their scoring criteria. Okay?
Okay.
So, good question. Very good question. All right. Enrique, so far looks like just me and you. Any other viewers want to come join us, but Enrique, we're going to do some practice now.
Yeah.
You ready?
All right.
Okay. Also, they will, okay, as I mentioned earlier, topic 3 will follow topic 2. In other words, you'll stay generally on the same topic. They may definitely work around it in many ways, but in general, it would be the same. So And they will also, they will introduce the topic. Okay?
Okay.
So, uh, for example, all right, let's say the topic is travel.
Okay.
Okay. Let's say you were talking about a trip you took in part two. Okay, so the part three opinion questions might go something like this. Okay, that's the end of part two. Now we're going to start part three questions. Enrique, I'm going to ask you some more questions about traveling and tourism. All right, the interviewer will introduce. Uh, Enrique, what can people learn from traveling?
Okay. Um, each other people can learn a lot of things like a culture and other languages. Uh, this is important for every people that are searching for adventures too and a new way of life. This new way would be seeking adventures and know other peoples and other place. Uh, it's a way of the tourism, and it's maintain a lot of countries. The people learn the cultures. I think that the culture is the more interesting thing that a people can learn.
Okay.
Uh,
All right.
repeat, learn.
Yeah. Okay. Biggest, most important feedback. If Enrique, try not to repeat your ideas. Repeat yourself. Don't just restate your same idea over and over again. It's definitely not going to help you. Okay.
Okay.
Instead, alternately, Enrique, my advice to you, use your personal experience. For example, you bring up the point that learning about new cultures is the most important thing. For example, Enrique, have you ever traveled to another country or even another area in your own country?
Another area.
Okay,
Another
fine.
culture, not good.
Well, okay, but I'm sure they do things slightly differently.
As such, food.
Ta-da! Okay, so you could use your own experience as an example. For example, there are even different cultures within one country. I once traveled to blah, blah, blah area where I experienced many new kinds of food, which I found very interesting. Okay, that's detail, that's new information. It's already in your head because you've experienced it. Anything that we've experienced and it is part of our lifetime experience for anyone, native speakers or second language speakers, it's always easier to speak about, to give more detail, to have more vocabulary about things we already know. Okay?
Okay.
Also, it doesn't even have to be something you did, Enrique. It could be something that you saw on National Geographic television. For example, I enjoy watching National Geographic television because they often have programs about where I can learn about new cultures and I can learn about things that I had no idea about before. It's
Okay.
just a lot of additional material. So use that your experience and your again, it can be something you read in a book, saw on the internet, watched on TV. Use those things to give examples. Believe me, trust me, it will
Okay.
really help you.
Good.
Okay. A couple small notes. Okay, you use culture many times. The
Culture.
first culture, yeah, okay. pronunciation was off the first time. After a while, you got it. But a couple small things. Never, you cannot say for every people. You can say for everyone, for everybody, for all people.
Okay.
All right, for all people is usually the phrase. Okay, and comparative and superlative. You said the more something.
Most.
It should be the most. You got it. Yes. If you're talking about the absolute number one, you always use article the, and then most. The fastest, the strongest,
Okay.
the stinkiest, whatever. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. Let's keep going. Enrique, do you think the growth of international tourism is a good thing?
Yes, I remember that when I went in our area near my city, it's called Caldas Novas. I used the internet to do the things that I would have to do, such as I have to make a reservation in a hotel and communicate with people, and I used the internet for these things, and it facilitates the life of the tourists. Um, I had I had been I had been seeing reportage about internet and the increasing of internet of the road. I,
Okay. All right. Now you're talking about uh, the internet and how important the internet is to tourism. But hang on a second. Here is my question. All right. If you can check out the chat box, Enrique.
oh, and I understand. All right,
Okay.
understand. Internet international.
Ah, okay. So you
I did a
misunderstood a word.
mistake.
Ah, okay.
Uh,
Here's another important point. That brings up another good point. If you are at all unsure of hearing a word or even what a vocabulary word in the question means, or the phrasing, what the phrasing means of the question, don't be shy. Okay?
okay.
You cannot lose points for asking a question. You do not lose points. Well, one kind of question you can. Let me explain. To ask for clarification is actually a good thing. If you can properly pose your question, you may actually gain points, not lose points. You can't really lose points for asking a question. You definitely can't lose points for saying, would you mind repeating that? All right?
Okay. Right.
It's a neutral question. You don't lose or gain points. You may lose points if you say, excuse me, but could you tell me what international means? They may give you a little check. Oop, vocabulary doesn't know international. Okay, you may lose a point. Okay?
Okay.
But it is a lot better for you, a lot cheaper when it comes to your score to have one check for vocabulary rather than, if you go way off topic, you're talking about internet instead of
Okay.
international, you automatically are going to drop 1.5 band scores. Okay, they
Okay.
they assume IELTS scorers thinking is that, oh, he went way off topic. Okay, obviously that's cohesion. All right. He doesn't have the vocabulary to talk about this question. Oh, he doesn't have the sentence structure, grammatical range. Oh, so we got to just lower him. Boom, boom, boom. Like 3 half levels, 1.5 bands instantly.
Okay.
So it's a real killer. A real killer. And in the same way, and this goes for the whole test, actually. So don't be shy to ask questions. In part 2 of the IELTS test, make sure you know how they give you a question and and then they give you talking points, bullet points to speak about in your answer. Make sure you hit all those bullet points, okay? Because that's the same thing. They consider he doesn't know how to talk about that one part of the question. It really kills you. Actually, this is how you lose points the fastest, is going off topic or, not answering the question.
If I
Always.
do a correct when I'm saying about something such as I said I had been seen. First I had been so. After I correct me,
Okay. Good
I
question.
would lost points.
Good
I
question.
lost points.
Actually, you know something, Enrique? Actually, that's a very good question. Self-correction. How is it scored? Okay, if you self-correct and you get it right the second time, you won't lose points unless you do it frequently and it breaks up your fluency and rhythm. Okay? So what would happen? All right, for example, you made a grammatical change. All right? You self-corrected and, all right, your first grammar was wrong. You were going to lose a point there. But you corrected it, so you got it right. So you don't lose a point. On the other hand, if you self-correct frequently, it breaks up your rhythm and you lose a point in another scoring category, in fluency. Okay?
Okay.
If you self-correct once or twice during the course of the entire test, you won't even lose any points. It's only if it breaks up the flow of your discourse. Okay? So you can do it. Native speakers self-correct all the time. I do it. Everybody does it. President Obama does it, for heaven's sakes. Okay? Everyone self-corrects occasionally. All right?
All right.
But obviously, if you're going to self-correct, get it right the second time. Obviously. Goes without saying. Okay. Let's try a different question. Let's talk about tourism and your culture. Enrique, where are you from again? I've forgotten.
I'm from Brazil.
Oh, okay. All right. Very good. All right, Enrique. How has tourism changed the way people in Brazil live?
Yeah. The tourism has have been changing the form of tourist living in Brazil. In cities like we have tourist cities like Caldas Novas, Salvador, Rio de Janeiro. A lot of people survive mainly about the tourism. It's necessary for for all of the cities, and I think that the city of survive from tourism is essential. The people change the way of life. Like the people will have to work in hotels and beaches. Is it?
Okay. Right. Yeah. Don't force it. If you can give 3 or 4 sentences in part 3, that's good. Part 1, 2 sentences is enough. Don't force yourself to keep speaking. When you're done, you're much better. Your first answer, you really were trying to force it. You're improving already. Look at that. Wow. Okay. Okay. Enrique, another thing that IELTS is specifically looking for, I mentioned signal words or signal phrases earlier. They're also specifically looking for paraphrasing. Okay? They want you to use the question to form your first sentence. For example, the last question that I put in the chat box, do you think the growth of international tourism is a good thing? I think international tourism is very important for many reasons. Pow. That would be an excellent example of a paraphrase, how to start the question. Okay.
Okay.
Your question was, um, what was your question? How
Uh,
has how has sorry, how has tourism changed the way people in your country live?
yeah.
Okay. Tourism is essential for the way people live in my country. Okay? Use the
Okay.
question to form your first answer,
Okay.
and also giving your opinion. But don't launch into your reasons immediately. Just give a, it's just like writing, okay? You want to give a topic sentence and then supporting sentences. And if you can, give a concluding sentence. And that is why tourism is so essential to Brazil's economy. Okay, concluding
Okay.
sentence. All right, that's classic English paragraph structure. You should, by the way, in your writing portion of the test, same thing. You want to be forming paragraphs with a definite structure, topic sentence or intro, or in the case of your writing test, even a paragraph. Okay, introduction
Okay.
paragraph, supporting paragraphs, two or three, and concluding paragraph. You do the same thing in speaking, answering an opinion question.
Okay.
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 All right. So your starting sentence was a little muddy. I didn't really even get the idea. Tourism has changed the norm. I don't know. It was confusing. So use what they give you. Use the question he gives you, and don't say it exactly the same, but say it back. Take a second, reform the question, and say it back to him. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Him or her.
Mm.
Okay. Uh, sir, okay. People survive mainly about the tourists. It should be
People
uh,
mainly
survive.
survive.
They survive mainly on the tourists, but better, they survive mainly on tourism. Okay. Good
Okay.
point. Okay, talking about tourist cities. All right, you're going on good there. People survive mainly on tourism. That your ideas are good. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, small problems with pronunciation. Hotels. Uh,
Hotels.
hotels. Hotels.
Hotels.
Yeah. Okay.
Hotels.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay. Very good. And Enrique, where are you from in Brazil?
I'm from Goiás, Catalão, the city.
Where's
It's
that?
near Brasilia.
Ah. Okay. Okay. All right. Very good. I'm just curious. Okay. Ah. Uh, okay, and be careful also because the question. All right, let me put the last question up there. Uh, also, you need to be careful because you're on topic but slightly off topic. Here's the last question I gave you, Enrique. How has tourism changed the way people in your country live? Okay, so
Okay.
the key, listen for verbs. By the way, when you're listening part of the test, anybody listening to English, listen for verbs. They are the key actions. Hey, Andrew, come back. Where did you go? Um, okay. How has tourism changed the way people live? Actually, this is a comparison question I warned you about earlier. So you should be talking about the way it was before there were many tourists or some kind of change in tourism. Oh, there's many more tourists than there used to be. Many more people depend on tourism. People who work on the beach, at hotels, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Okay, so that if you hear that word changed, then that's a past present. That's another way they do a comparison question. They may ask you about what is the difference between something. pollution 20 years ago and in the present in your city or in your country. Okay.
Okay.
Those are also comparison questions, so you're going to have to talk about both things. Okay, so be wary, be listening for that. All right, here's another question for you. Same topic. Uh, how should tourists behave when they go to your country?
Could you explain me what man means? What does man mean? What does have mean?
Behave. Okay. Could you explain to me? Okay. Could you
Okay.
explain to me what behave means? Sure. Okay. Sure. As soon as I say hi to Andrew before he runs away again. Hey, Andrew. Talk to me.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. Oh, there you go. Okay. Hi,
Can you
Andrew.
hear me?
Barely. It's very low volume.
What about now?
Oh, better.
Better?
Yeah, much, much better. Okay. Uh, sorry, Henrique. And to answer your question, okay, the question was, how should tourists behave when they come to your country? In other words, how
Okay,
should they act?
I remember.
Uh,
Behave.
okay. All right. So go ahead.
Compartment. Yeah. The people from another country has a comportment good in my country, and oh, I forgot the question. Sorry.
How should tourists behave when they come to your country?
Okay, I was answer. Okay. My country is a culture, mind, broad-minded, and the compartment of the people that travel for my country. It's not the principal thing. The mainly because the tourists that go to my country, I never see I never see a problem relation with this question is it's difficult. I don't develop.
Okay. Yeah, you didn't fully develop. Well, in some countries, they're very strict, societal codes of behavior. You must do this. You must take off your shoes when you enter a building. You have to do certain things. If you visit a church or a mosque, you must remove your hat. There are pretty strict rules of society. Now I understand, Enrique, you're from Brazil.
I could say
Woo!
that.
I know, it's pretty loose and easy. People are
I
very,
could do. I
yeah,
could
I
give you an
understand.
example near my city, Caldas Novas, that I had talked,
Hmm.
and the people that go to Caldas Novas break the cars
Oh,
and the buildings because they they're they're he they are young people, and the young people drunk get got
uh,
drunk and
okay.
broke the city.
Well, now you're talking. Now you're giving me
Yeah.
details. You're telling me a story. It's much more interesting.
It's because it's a tourist seat. This seat has
Okay.
uh, how can I say? It's a clubs. The clubs
Ah,
there
there
are
you go.
good,
Okay.
and the tourists there are based in the water,
Uh,
thermal water,
okay.
and natural
What was that? Thermal water. What?
thermal thermal.
Thermal. Ah, there you go. TH. Thermal water. Okay. The club scene. We can say the
Thermal
club
water.
scene. There's lots of nightclubs, partying going on. Yeah,
Okay.
so sometimes tourists get out of control and smash things and break things. Well, that's a lot more detail, of course.
Okay.
Okay. Even if even if tourists don't really have to do anything special, Enrique, you could talk about your country's culture. We're very laid back. We like to party and have a good time. So we just, when tourists come, just please don't be violent and just enjoy yourself and relax
Yeah.
like that. You can say that. That's okay. You don't have to talk about rules and regulations. You can talk about the fact there are no rules and regulations.
If I
Enrique?
answer a question like this, I answer in a short way, the examiner will change the topic or not?
Good question. Okay. You are not expected to give a long discourse, a long answer on every question. You don't have to. Uh, in English, we have the expression pick your spots. So you have a question which you really understand and you have some good examples and there's a story you want to tell. Go ahead and speak longer. The examiner will let you speak longer. And then you get a question, you don't have that much to say. Only one or two sentences. That's okay. It's not required to speak for a certain amount of time on any question or a certain amount of content, an amount of sentences. It's not. What is required, in fact, is that you sound natural. When we speak in a natural conversation, sometimes we answer with one sentence, sometimes we answer with 6 if we're going to tell a little story. That's it, okay? So don't worry about it. Don't remove that from your mind. Don't be thinking I have to say a certain amount of, a certain length of time or a certain amount, except part 2, you should be speaking for 2 minutes. But part 1 and part 3, don't worry about that so much.
Okay.
Just be thinking about your personal experience, details you can talk about. Much better always if you can give actual examples. All right? Much better. It's definitely going to help you.
All right.
Okay, Andrew, how have you been?
Yeah, I've been pretty good.
Yeah, okay. Where are all the
Oakley,
guys? I don't know.
where was it?
I don't know where everyone is today.
This is summer, yeah? Because
I
maybe
guess so.
some,
Everyone's
yeah,
everyone's
maybe,
gone to the
yeah,
beach, or
possibly
I don't
on
know.
vacation. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Okay. Anyway, thank goodness Enrique's here. And anyway, hopefully Enrique's getting a lot out of this. I hope. Enrique, are you learning something today?
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of things today.
Okay. Good. All right. Well, that's what's important. Okay, I'm gonna have Andrew try a question. Our topic is tourism, and we're trying opinion questions, as in part 3 of IELTS. So, Andrew,
Mm-hmm.
how could your
Yes.
country improve tourism or grow tourism in the future?
In the future.
Hmm.
Okay. As you already know, in 2014 we will have the Winter Olympic Game in Sochi. Yes, and they have been building a lot of stadiums, hotels in the Sochi, and maybe this infrastructure will help to create tourism in Russia in more efficient way that it's been creating for today. And in my opinion, Russia is not so good country for tourism. I mean, maybe for some special kind of just to do cities, but not like in Philippines or some other countries that which have pretty pretty um, warmer climate, because Russia, this is the north country in general, and And to be honest, for today's tourism is not developed in Russia as good as it should be, or in comparison with others country.
Uh-huh. Okay. As good as it should be, you should say as well as it should be. As it should be
As
or
well
could
as
be.
it should be.
Okay. Okay. Very good. You notice he developed his answer pretty well there. Oh boy, I just realized I've got Enrique, who's got the Summer Olympics coming up, and in Brazil there's a lot of controversy about all the new construction, building stadiums, and so forth. And then I've got you, Andrew, at the Russians, and they're having the Winter Olympics.
Yeah.
I've got some great opinion questions to finish the class, but oh boy, I can hardly wait. Okay, but first, a little feedback for Andrew. Pronunciation stadiums. Okay.
Stadiums.
All right. Okay. You missed an article. No big deal. You said in more efficient. It should be in a more efficient way. In a more efficient way. Small mistake. Just to do cities. Not sure what this is. I forgot.
To do city, it means like to do sightseeing.
Ah, okay. Oh,
Sightseeing.
right. Oh, okay. Well, then, there you go. Yeah. Okay, so Russia is a good city for, a good country for sightseeing in the cities. All right, and then your point was about the climate, warm climate, cold climate. I thought you were going to talk about the environment. You didn't, so it doesn't matter. But I thought you were going there, but you talked about climate, not environment. Anyway, I know Russia has a lot of beautiful areas, natural surroundings, and scenery, all those kinds of things. Oh, okay, that was pretty good. It's very small mistakes. No, and stayed on topic, very organized speaking. Okay, very good.
Actually, it was spontaneous speaking.
Well, you know what? That's good.
That's good. Okay. Thank you.
That's what IELTS is looking for. Spontaneously thinking in English, speaking in English, using English phrases in a natural way. That's precisely what they want to hear, actually. Spontaneous thinking? Good. In fact, IELTS has severe penalties for what they call memorized language. Okay? So if you're asked a question and then you say, well, that's a very interesting question. I have not thought about that question before. If I was to have to give you an answer about that question, I suppose that I would have to say, okay, if you do that for 2 minutes, they're going to penalize you very severely. It's okay to use natural speech. That's interesting. Well, I think if you do that and using intonation, that's interesting, that's okay. But if you use very much, it sounds like you memorize, if they think you memorized an answer, they're going to kill you for that. Absolutely. It has to be spontaneous. Okay, Enrique. Now, Andrew over here seems to think it's a good idea building stadiums and new buildings and new attractions in Russia, and it will attract tourism, thus money in the long run, I suppose. Okay, now I know in Brazil there's a lot of controversy about the government building new stadiums and new things for the World Cup and for the Olympics. Enrique, I'm dying to know. How do you feel about the government spending all that money for the Olympics and for the World Cup?
I feel bad because the government, I think, that have to to invest in education and transportation infrastructure. The Brazil are bad in this way, and the economy in Brazil is good, but the government, I think that don't think of the right way. But did you see anything on TV about the Confederations Cup and the manifestation,
Yeah.
education, the the medical? How can I say medical
Uh,
about health medical?
medical. Okay. Yeah. I'm not sure what you're trying to say. Hospitals and medical
Uh,
facilities. Is that what you're talking
medical
about?
facilities. I think
Hmm.
medical facilities in Brazil are badly. And the
Okay.
government, I think that yesterday the government do a new thing. We are import doctors from other countries. Countries. Uh,
Really?
yeah, really.
That's news to me.
Brazil are following the UK. The president did a pronunciation, and the president said that the Brazil and now is following the UK because the UK did it.
Okay. They okayed it. Okay. They made a pronouncement. The president made a pronouncement
Yeah.
or an announcement. Either way, it's okay. Um, all right. Interesting. Okay, Andrew, just so you know, spelling wise, Andrew, it's resources with a C at the end. Well, Andrew has a question for you, Enrique. Okay. You could use Enrique a little feedback
Are there
before.
some natural resources in
Yeah,
Brazil,
he
such
wants
as
to know.
oil?
Yeah.
Yes, we have a abundance of resources. Oil, mainly oil. Oil is. I don't know if you know uh, the factor called Petrobras.
Okay.
Petrobras is one of the biggest oil
Oil,
oil factor oil
oil companies,
oil companies. But
oil
it is a
processors,
estatal.
oil developers,
Yeah,
oil field developers.
yeah,
Mm,
and natural gas. Natural gas. I think that we are developing this area now.
okay.
Brazil building a new station of natural gas in it's I don't know how. I think that is near Rio de Janeiro.
Okay. Uh, Enrique, some advice.
Okay.
Some advice for you. You seem to, okay, I think your ideas are good. There's no problem with your ideas, but sometimes you seem to lack vocabulary, in particular verbs. Okay.
Okay.
Talking about, the government needs to develop new ideas. Uh, Sometimes verbs like they should divert funds from building stadiums to schools and hospitals. Divert. Uh, it will make your language stronger. And think, look at verbs that can help you talk about changes, uh, increase, decrease. The government needs to increase funding to schools. They need to. There, it seems like they waste money to waste. Ah, um, Verbs that are related to change are going to be very helpful, not only in speaking, but
Okay.
in writing. Are you taking the GT or general training or the academic IELTS?
Academic.
Academic?
Yeah,
Ooh.
it's good.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
speaking I never tried. I tried in only in class, verb in class, with you now
Uh-huh.
and with Martin.
Okay.
But I'm studying more for
Listening? Mm-hmm.
listen. I have been practicing with books about IELTS, Collins books,
Okay.
and
All right. So I brought that up because if you're doing academic, so academic writing task 1, where you're just uh, summarizing information on a table or graph or something, you use some of the same language I'm talking about. Um, Verbs and adjectives: rising, falling, increasing, decreasing, raising, lowering, adjusting, maintaining, to maintain, to adjust, to change, to develop, to suppress, to open up, all of these kinds of verbs. Same language you use in task 1 in writing. It will actually help you here in the speaking too.
okay.
Okay. And one comment about listening. I don't know if what you've been doing, but when you take the IELTS listening test, break the rules. They will give you a minute to review your answers and then a minute to preview the next 10 questions. Don't do that. Just preview. Use the entire 2 minutes to preview the next section.
Okay.
Okay? Trust
I
me,
have
this,
to write on the sheet. No, on the
yeah, with the sheets. Yeah, always preview. When the key to taking a listening test: preview information and make guesses of what you think they're probably going to say, or what kind of information are they going to give? Are they going to use a noun, an adjective, a verb? Okay,
Okay.
all right. Andrew, okay, so do you think
Yes.
that investing all the money in stadiums and new facilities, do you think it's a good investment for Russia?
In general, it's a good it's a good investment, but there are some pitfalls, right?
Pitfalls.
And
Ah, good word.
pitfalls, yeah,
Hmm.
such as uh, everybody knows that some companies who some companies which work for which build uh, stadiums and some Olympic places, some of them just steal money, from a budget. For example, it's really it's bunch of monies, and this all correlates with corruption, right? It's
Yeah,
spread everywhere, and I think um, that money which they will invest in buildings, they will never come back. I mean, it's kind of unprofitable. It's it's kind of unprofitable idea to turn money back because, for example, they will spend maybe one or not one. For example, they will spend 50 billions dollars, right,
hmm,
for infrastructure, but touri- uh, tourists never, but tourists will never spend more than this sum of money, and this is like a lucrative idea in general.
Okay.
I mean, do you understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They won't be able to take money back.
Yeah. Okay, here's a phrase for you, Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
It's a poor, or there will be, future tense. There will be a poor return on investment.
Poor return on investment. Okay.
Yeah, they won't get their money back. They won't make money. You invest money. In Brazil, if they invest money in education, hopefully 10 years from now, 20 years from now, that will stimulate the economy. There could be a return on investment doesn't have to be money. Well, it will translate to money. People are educated, they tend to make more money. They make more money, they pay more taxes, the government makes more money. Yay, everyone's happy. Um, so, investing in education, it would be hard to argue, has a poor return on investment. On is the preposition. So, yeah, when we're talking about governments investing a lot of money in these kinds of things, infrastructure, stadiums, blah, 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 we need to consider what is the return on investment. Will we ever get the money back? You're exactly right, Andrew. I totally agree with you, actually. And it depends. Some countries do. I mean, some do and some don't. It depends. Do they market it after the event? Or do they just let it decay and crumble into dust? You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it depends. Okay, anyway, guys, thanks so much. I'm over time. I've got to go, so that make way for the
Thank
next.
you for the class, Oakley.
Thank you.
Thank you, and Henrique, hopefully I'll see you again. But anyway,
Very
good luck.
helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Have a good
See you,
day.
Andrew.